What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the PT Coffee Cast, brought to you by The Movement. My name is Dalton, and alongside me today is my beautifully bearded friend, William. William, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good. You know, we got a fresh 5-pound bag of beans,
I know, I saw that.
which I'm very excited about.
That'll last about, what, 2 weeks?
Give or take a couple of days.
Yeah, bro, we crushed through that last 5-pound bag that we brought into the clinic, so, our team has a problem.
Well, the important thing is that we recognize it.
Yeah, that's the first step, right? Admitting that you have a problem.
Exactly. And also, I'm rocking the indoor toque,
Yeah.
trying a new style.
Bro, you look hip.
You think so?
You look hip.
Just another way to hide my widow's peak.
Yeah, with your beard, your hipster hat, your crew neck. You just need your glasses and you'd be complete.
Oh, if I had the glasses on, would you even be able to hang?
I wouldn't be able to hang. I have a question for you, though. What is one of your favorite parts of the mentorship that we have coming up for people?
Ooh, favorite parts of it.
Give me one thing that you're super excited about.
I think the first module, going through the imposter syndrome stuff, and I'm really excited because I think that is not something that people go through. That type of process is something that people go through a lot, and so in the module we cover a lot about looking deeper into your own values and how you see yourself as a physio. And I think just having taken some people through that process, it's really powerful. So I'm excited to take people through that. And then for me, I'm going with the second thing that's a bit different. I'm excited for people to see the way it's put together visually.
Yeah.
And the fact it's coffee themed and everything. I think people will really, really like it. It'll be fun to go through versus a drag. It's not boring the way it's laid out, which I'm very excited about.
All right, cool. That's nice. You know what I'm excited for? If you care to know.
I care to know. I was going to ask you, but...
I'm excited just for the coffee chats. Like the weekly meeting over coffee. Because it brings me back to the early days, bro, when we would just sit down over coffee and just rant about physio and try to solve all the world's problems in our little coffee-infused rants that ended up leading to this podcast. So I'm excited to facilitate those and see what people bring to the table.
It's a good point. That's how this whole thing began, and we're hoping to sort of bring people into that, you know? And just having those chances to get caffeinated and rant about everything.
Totally.
And genuinely learn things throughout that.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So if you guys are interested in the mentorship, we have a sign up for our waitlist right now. So you can do that through the link in our bio on Instagram or through the show notes. That will notify you when our application process goes out, and we are going to be launching the first cohort in April. So we're super excited to have that closely creeping in. So if you guys want to stay on top of that, make sure you sign up for that link. If you guys aren't following us on Instagram, make sure you're doing that at PTCOFFEECAST. If you aren't subscribed to the podcast on your podcast platforms, I don't know why you're not, so you should do that as well. And then if you guys want any of our free content, we have our 3 Whys ebook and our sales tips for client outcomes that you can download through the show notes or the link in our bio on Instagram. But
shout out to everybody already who signed out to the waitlist.
Yeah, shout out for sure.
We're super excited.
We're pumped about that.
Connect.
The response has been great. Excited to keep seeing people join that, and then get that first cohort rocking and rolling, baby.
I love how we have a flow, and whenever I disrupt that flow, it's whoa.
Yeah, you're messing with me.
I'm sorry, but I had to.
Yeah. Now I got to get back on track. No, but today's going to be a little bit, I would say maybe a little bit of a different kind of style of episode. I know it's just me and you, but we kind of usually come with a point to get across, and today's more of maybe us just like fleshing out some thoughts that we have or some ideas we have. Maybe it's a conversation that we usually have that doesn't get recorded. So we're just gonna kind of talk about a topic and see what comes from it, and hopefully something valuable comes out of the conversation. And then obviously we always are open to feedback from all you guys, and we appreciate you tuning in and listening to our thoughts. So I want you to like lay the conversation out, because you're the one that brought it up to me. So maybe we start there, and then we can just like see where it goes.
We'll do it. We'll see what happens.
All right.
Well, I think we're just going to basically, like, on a broad level, we've been seeing a lot of people talking about different models of care, like times of sessions, the way that you deliver it, virtual, in-person, hybrid model. And there's a lot of opinions out there, like what's better, what's maybe more effective, and so we just got talking about that a little bit, because obviously we have a particular model of care here for our in-person people. We have a different model for our consulting that we do with Arc'teryx, but I think that's something that people probably wrestle with, like, do I want to see people for, do I want to see more than one person at a time and work with a PSP or a PTA? Do I want to work one-on-one, half hour? Do I want to work with people virtually? Should I innovate and create some kind of hybrid model? And so, yeah, we want to talk about that and just some of our thoughts.
Yeah, I think it can be overwhelming at times, right? Like, and there's a lot of like different pieces to all of that, and I think like for us and for me personally, I think it comes back to really knowing yourself and knowing your why and knowing how you want to show up as a clinician that might drive you to one of those modes of treating, right? I know for me personally, I've always come into the profession with like an educator mindset. It's just something that educator mindset, a coaching mindset, it's just something I've always enjoyed doing. I had a lot of good teachers and coaches growing up, and I learned a lot from them and saw myself wanting to do something along those lines. Which, when thinking of how we operate here on like an hour model basis, I find that for me allows me the opportunity to be more of an educator, more of a coach, more of a problem solver in that realm. And I don't have to be, pressured by time to like rush through things. Like, we can really take the time to flesh those things out, make sure they're understood. I can tactically approach sessions, thinking of like, what do I want this client to learn and how can I implement certain things to do that, which may not be able to do in a shorter time period because you're just crunched on making sure you get through certain things. Not to say again that that's good or bad, but just for me personally, I find that to be like something that I really enjoy, and then not having to balance like too many clients. So for me, having the hour session, it obviously shortens the number of, like, reduces the number of people we see on a daily and a weekly basis, which allows me to put more planning, more thought into those clients to help do some of the things that I just talked about. So I know I'm kind of like maybe ranting a little bit, but I think for me, that's why like the hour model like makes sense. And that's something that I've really wanted to express myself as a clinician. So I think coming back to just trying to think of, okay, who are you? What do you want? How do you want to show up? Can really dictate like which maybe mode of treating you end up choosing.
Yeah, and same with me, really. Like, when I have too much of a time constraint that's too tight, I get stressed, and I don't feel confident I'm going to get through what I need to get through. And the pressure of the clock kind of gets to me. So, like, having that, knowing I've got more than enough time to get through things, it allows me to approach that with a little more calmness. Just the fact that we have to see less people overall. I feel like I've got more control over like my planning. I can put more thought into each person. But again, right, that's not to say that you can't have success in like a 30-minute model, right? Like we know lots of people that are great physios that are able to crush it in shorter amounts of time, or even working with a PSP, right? It's not inherently that just the time or just the model means you're going to be like binarily like good or bad, right? But like an exercise, you can constrain an exercise to achieve a certain thing. The model will have certain constraints and will allow you to do certain things that you might not be able to do in another model, right? For example, with an hour, we can go through like entire workouts. And if we're working with a CrossFitter who needs to get back to the ability to have their knee tolerate an entire WOD, well, how long are those? Right? Not getting through that in 30 minutes and having time, right? So, but we can set up an entire test where we're making sure that they can get through that entire thing. So you can get through every set of every exercise. You can have education pieces in between there, right? So you just can't do that entirely in a 30-minute model, right? So there's constraints there. It doesn't mean you can't be effective. You just might be effective in a different way, right? Or for different people potentially, right?
Yeah, I think it's more the different people or different population, which there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's like that model, a shorter period of time, in my opinion, might not be the best mode of care for someone that needs a lot more time, like let's say a CrossFitter, to be able to work on the things that they need to work on, right? Where maybe in a 30-minute model, that wouldn't be effective, right? But that doesn't mean it wouldn't be effective for someone who is dealing with some knee pain that needs to get back to hiking, that you can manage it. And and even to say, like, you could probably manage that CrossFit athlete in a 30-minute session. It just might not be the most effective way to do it.
And there's also like the person on the other end, like not from us and our ability to deliver the service, but like that some people might feel like they don't want to commit to an hour being in physio, and so great, they should probably not utilize that, right? And so or if you have an older person who's like, I can only handle getting through 30 minutes, right? Well, then they should do 30 minutes, right? So it's not necessarily that like it's gonna be what everybody wants, but both options should be available, right? They should go for the one that they think is going to get the best outcome for them, right?
Yeah, and then you can talk a little bit about like the virtual side of things, which we've obviously seen like get ushered into the physio world pretty heavily with COVID coming into play, right? You see a lot more people now transitioning to like a hybrid model or a purely virtual model, which again holds a lot of value. Like I'm super happy that that's become an option, right? I think the physio world was a little bit behind from that perspective, but even with that being said, like that really shifted. What I like about it is it shifted the way that physios have to view their value as a clinician, because that moves you away from being the hands-on like type of clinician to like using your communication skills, your education skills, your ability to progress, regress, modify movements that people are having trouble with because you can't necessarily do the hands-on stuff through the virtual. Well, you can't actually do the hands-on stuff through the virtual world, which really like I think challenged us as a profession to start thinking about where does our value lie, which I'm excited about because obviously we're biased to the value line in our ability to assess, educate, prescribe exercise, progress exercise, modify exercise, initiate changes in people's lifestyle or behavior. Like we're very biased to those things, and I think the virtual world like ushered that in, which is great. But you can 100% successfully deliver virtual care, like people are doing it right now. And I think that's a great option if you want to do it, right? And I think we should have multiple avenues for people to pursue our services in which they can be successful. And I think things like virtual allow for us to scale a lot easier, right? Which means we can maybe work with more people, which means we can help more people, which is a great thing for, the profession, and a great thing for for society and community to get that care. And then, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of room for innovation.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for example, we work with Arc'teryx on a consulting basis, and we work with them entirely virtually, aside from going into their summits on a, I think it's like a quarterly basis, right? And some of the but all the content we provide virtually, and any one-to-one consults are done virtually, right? So it's like, there's constraints with that model, and then there's also a lot of benefits to that model. It's not that it's better or worse than what we're doing here. It's just different for different purposes, right? It's a different type of work, right? And I think that's like the biggest thing, we wanted to also talk about a little bit was like, there's a lot of people who are out there, and I think they're right in saying like, cash 1 hour sessions, high prices for the session doesn't inherently make you're not going to inherently deliver better outcomes doing that. And I think that's true.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Just because you extend out the time that you see people and you up the cost of your session doesn't mean that you're a better clinician,
right?
Or that you're going to get better outcomes, for sure.
But what we try to do as a company is we try to mentor the people that potentially could work with us in a way that's going to help them deliver on that hour session at a high level and feel really good about it, right? So that's more important than the time, right? Are you in an environment that's going to set you up for success? And can you see yourself delivering and benefiting from like a personal fulfillment perspective in working in that way, versus like, this is better than that? I just don't think we can paint that with a broad brush. There's so many other things that actually lead to giving value, like for you providing a valuable service than just the time, right? And that's kind of the entire reason why we started the mentorship, right? Mentorship doesn't discriminate whether or not you work with people on an hourly basis or not.
Right. Yeah, and I think, it comes down to this, right? It comes down to the philosophy of how we approach care as physiotherapists is like the most important thing. And I think, we've always been on the side of approaching it from an empowerment standpoint, putting the locus of control on the client. Like everything that we preach on this podcast and through our content on a daily basis is stuff that we firmly believe is a way that our profession should be heading in terms of, helping people get better or take control of their health or optimize their performance. And now are there little minor nuances between what we do and what someone else might do? Yes. But the general philosophy, I think, has to come from the same place across all physios. And I think that's where we see some struggle right now. It's like that transition piece of like moving away from some of the old philosophies that we had as clinicians to like an updated, newer philosophy that we have, which is a good thing. It doesn't mean that those who were like, those people who are treating before, the things that we did before is like bad. It's just we're learning more and more, and now we're updating ourselves and progressing forward. Where it becomes an issue is when new information is presented and we still don't want to move forward from the old way of approaching things or the old philosophies. We don't want to update our narratives and how we're approaching things. That's where I think the tension is coming more than like which way it gets delivered, right? And I think we're starting to see a shift. Like I'm positive with this, and it's something we've talked for a while on this podcast since we started about how we've seen the shift, and I continue to see it more and more. And I think we need to start thinking as a profession, how can we grasp onto that philosophy and that approach that's going to best be delivered to the clients to help them, and then use an hour session or a 30-minute session or a virtual session or a hybrid model as the vessel to deliver that care that we know is going to help those people get back to what they want to, and do it in a way that's like empowering and that's putting their health at the forefront, right? And I think we're getting there. It's slowly transitioning, but we're busy sometimes, I think, arguing about things like, should we do a 30-minute session or should we do an hour session, instead of thinking about, okay, what are the actual philosophies that we need to be using? And then how do we educate the next generation of physios, people coming out of physio school, new grads? How do we educate them on how to deliver that in whatever model that they choose that's going to best fulfill them, right? And I think that's where we're lacking a bit, and that's why we're putting out our mentorship. That's why you have people like Nick Hanna doing what Nick Hanna's doing. It's why you have Zach and Steph and the Cal U team doing what they're doing. Is like we're trying to educate the next generation of clinicians coming up with that approach so that they can go and deliver it in whatever model that they want. And that's important.
I think what you brought up about like experiencing resistance is important, because we're here saying like all the models can be good. That doesn't mean you're in the right thing for you. And if you're feeling some resistance and you're learning stuff, and maybe you resonate with like our philosophy and the stuff that we're talking about, and you find yourself maybe not in the right model, like we kind of are encouraging you to think about that. Should you look to a different type of model to be in? Like, that's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. If you can find where you fit best and like can implement things in the way that you think is how it should be, right? You might not be in the right place, and that's all right. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, and eventually the way that we approach care as a profession will shape the models in which we deliver it. Because at some point in time, maybe, and I'm not saying this is the case, but I'm saying maybe a 30-minute session actually won't be valuable because you're not able to implement everything that you need to implement. So that's going to shift the market. That's going to shift the way that we deliver care. It's going to then shift the consumer's mindset around how they consume our care. And I think it's most important that as a profession, what we do is that we continue to learn and update ourselves to deliver the care the best we possibly can to help clients feel empowered and be in control. And then the model will be dictated based off of that, not the other way around, which is how I feel like it's been for a while. Mm-hmm. And where we need to start seeing more change is in the education system of our actual clinicians. And that's where I think things like mentorships that we're doing, other people are trying to do to teach new grads and students this stuff is important, because unfortunately right now, just from like the university standpoint, that education system isn't catching up or hasn't been changed for many reasons, and that is what it is, and it's getting better, and I hope it continues to shift. But we've always been on the side as like, okay, well, if that's going to take a while to change, why would we wait, right? And that's why we're implementing this mentorship. That's why you see other people doing these things, and I think that is very important, and I think we should continue to do that, and we should continue to have these conversations. But I think the most important thing is thinking about the actual like philosophy and approach that we deliver care, which is, it's a hard thing to come to like a common, like one agreement on, because there's so many different things going on. But I think we can do it. Like, I think we can come to like a common understanding of having like these solid pillars and foundations of how we approach care philosophically, and delivering that to where we can all work off of. And I think we need to do that for our profession and for the people.
Curious to hear other people's thoughts.
Yeah.
They want to send us a DM.
Yeah, I would love to have, like, we think about this a lot, and we have conversations about this stuff a lot, because we're always trying to figure out like, how can we continue to make this better? It comes from a place of just improving, because we see on a daily, like we see on a daily basis how impactful we can be on people's health. And that's the one thing that I've noticed more than pain and injury. It's like those things are all part of that, but like we can truly change people's lives and their health by like delivering the care that we know, me and you and most of this profession knows that we can actually deliver on. We just need to continue to like work together to figure out how we can best get that out to the world and then best continue to educate the people that are coming up, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you wanted to cover today?
Yeah. I feel good about that.
Do you have any other thoughts closing?
All my thoughts have exited my brain.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even remember what I said.
I finished the cup, you know?
Yeah.
That's all I have, right?
I got one more sip. This sip's going to send me on another rant. No, but we'll wrap it up there, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're interested in learning more about our mentorship, check the link in the bio on Instagram or in the show notes. You can sign up for the wait list to know when our applications are coming out. If you guys aren't following us on Instagram, head over there, follow us at PTCOFFEECAST. If you guys haven't checked us out on YouTube, we have been consistent with uploading the video version of this podcast, so you can see our beautiful faces drinking coffee, having fun, talking. If you subscribe to the Movement PT's YouTube channel. And then lastly, we have our free resources that you guys can download. Our our sales tip for better outcomes and our 3Y ebook is available for you to download in the show notes or through the link in the bio on Instagram. But that is all we got for today, guys. As always, stay caffeinated. Peace.